All right, welcome. I'm just going to run you through real quick with the gateways, which was the first thing that I mentioned on this list right here. So the things that you'll need to start, the most important one and the one that takes the longest to get is the gateway. So that's where you would swap in your dollars, your yen, or your euros, and you would convert it into, more often than not, Bitcoin. But some of them you can convert it into Ethereum and Litecoin, and then you can take it from there. The most common one is Bitcoin, though. So the two that I'm going to be comparing are Coinbase and Bitstamp. These are the two most common ones for anybody that generally speaks English. There are others, but these are the two top ones that I would recommend. And I'm just going to compare the two real quick. So let's start with Coinbase. Coinbase has a larger user base. So you can see over here that it's got 7.6 million people served and 6 billion in exchange and 32 countries supported. It's huge. With that, they are more, let's say, speedy than Bitstamp because their credit card buy times are quick. I've had it as fast as maybe 20 seconds after I buy it. So you hit the buy button, 20 seconds later, you can see just how much you have and what it's worth real time. So for Coinbase, if you're trying to buy stuff and you're buying in small quantities, which we'll get to later, and you just want it quick, they're a good place to have in your arsenal. With that said, because they have so many people, their price fluctuations are ridiculous sometimes. Just like this morning when I was trying to buy it, it dipped down under 2,700, and I was looking on Crypto Watch, which we'll get to in later videos, but I was looking over here and all of the other exchanges were like 2650, and I saw Coinbase briefly flash down to right around 2680 or so, and I said, I'm going to jump on it, right? So the time that it took me to go downstairs, grab my phone, turn it on, and get to Coinbase, it had already shot up $40. So I had to wait for it to go back down to 27, then buy. The fluctuations are absolutely ridiculous, but if you're watching it real time, and say you're trying to do it in sync with this, and you see it flash, you reload and you buy, it perfectly fine. But otherwise, I'd recommend Bitstamp if you have to take a minute or so for verification and all that. But the other thing about Coinbase that you should note is that if you're going to do bank transactions, particularly ACH, it's the only one that I've got experience with so far, but they're 5 to 8 days to process it. On average, I've seen it anywhere from 6 to 7, but they do say 5 to 8. So you have to be wary of that. So when you place the order, you have to be willing to wait a week with them. And we'll get to the limits later. But Coinbase versus Bitstamp. Coinbase is in the US, and this is all the registration and everything. I looked it up on the Who Is. So these are the two people right here that were registered, so Juan Suarez and Brian Armstrong, and they're under the title Coinbase Incorporated. So it was registered back in 2011. The last update, which I thought was strange, was 2014, but it's been working ever since then. And their expiration for their domain is in 2024. And just for verification under the Who Is, this is where they're registered to, under San Francisco. So moving on, their buy limits, it applies to all crypto coins. So you can only buy a certain amount per week. And it accrues over the week, which you can see here. So for credit cards, you can only buy $500 per week. And that reaccrues over the week. So after 7 days, you'll have $500 again. But if you wait about midweek, you'll have right around $250. For bank transfers, same way, it's $5,000 per week, but if you wait half the week, you'll have $2,500. So it accrues versus other exchanges that you can't buy anything until the week passes. And then you have the full limit again. So you have to be wary of that when you sign up for these. And here's the biggest thing about Coinbase that I absolutely love. If you know how to time when to buy these things, Coinbase is your place to go and you're willing to wait. So their transactions, when you buy stuff, is at the time of order. So if you're looking at it, just like I did this morning, I put a good chunk of money into it at just under 26 because I knew it was going to shoot right back up to 28.50 or so here shortly. At the time of order, so when I bought it at 26.50, in a week's time, that's the price that I'm going to get. I just have to wait a week for that to hit. So that's huge, absolutely huge. You can actually make money just off of buying it and selling it. Like, I love it. So there are other limits, and you have to be wary of this because Bitstamp is much larger. Coinbase, you only have 10 grand on both sides for your US wallet limit and your withdrawal limit. So the difference is you can put money into Coinbase and sit there and wait to buy, in which case it's much faster. And usually it's almost immediately, sometimes up to about a half hour. But you can only have 10 grand in there at any one time, which for most people is plenty at one given time. But if you're a big investor, that is a huge limitation. Your other thing with Coinbase versus Bitstamp that I don't really care for is their withdrawal limit is only $1,000. I'm sorry, not $1,000, $10,000 per week, if I'm not mistaken. If not, it's per day. You'll have to fact check me on that. Actually, I'll do it right now. As you can see, I already looked it up. So your limit is okay, my fault. It's a day. So it's $10,000 per day versus Bitstamps, which is a lot higher. So that's your other limit. So you can only do 10 grand per day. So that's about 300 grand-ish a month, depending on how many days are in there. So I don't really care for that. Their fees, this is a big one. Their credit card buys are a flat rate of just under 4%. Bitstamps, depending on how much you buy, it can vary. Coinbase, you can buy up to $500 a week, and I didn't put this in there. Coinbase, you can buy up to $500 a week by credit card and up to $5,000 for a bank. Bitstamp, it's flat rates, which you'll see here in a bit. Their fees for ACH deposits, deposits are free. There's no charge, but their wire transfer deposits are a minimum of $10. If you need more information on this, and I would highly suggest visiting this, here's the link to see all the transfer fees. So moving on, the crypto coins supported are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Excuse me. Those are the three main ones. Bitcoin, in my experience, is how you deposit into just about every exchange because everything accepts Bitcoin. That's why the price is so high. Everything is starting to accept Ethereum and starting to acknowledge Litecoin, but primarily Bitcoin's what you're looking for. So on to Bitstamp. So they've got a smaller user base. They have a much greater purchase limit. And because of there being a smaller user base and a greater purchase limit, their price fluctuations are usually delayed or at least slower to catch up to all the others. And there's fewer price fluctuations. So it won't shoot up $25 and then go down $30 like within a minute. They're more like 2-3 minutes. So for instance, so you see Coinbase over here is $27.79. Over here on Bitstamp, it's still $27.81, right? Whereas the price is $85, so it hasn't quite hit the drop yet, so you won't lose as much. I do like that, and that does have its perks, especially if you're trying to buy at a low price. But at the same time, Coinbase will dip farther down usually, so it's really a timing thing. Moving on, their location registration is different than Coinbase. They are EU based. They are based in Luxembourg, if I'm not, Luxembourg. They are registered under the name Bitstamp Internet, and they are also associated under Bitstamp Europe. They're registered back in 2011 as well. Their last update was about 5 months ago, and the expiration on their domain is longer out at 2026. Moving on. Their buy limits. This is the part that I don't really like about Bitstamp. It has its perks at times, but it's really a downside. is no matter how long your transactions take to process, they're processed real time. So at the time that the transaction completes, they will transfer at the current rate. Real drawback at that. But once you get everything verified and you're doing smaller transactions, not really too big of a problem, because their credit card limit is $5,000 per transaction. Now, I haven't tested that. I haven't seen what their limit is. I can't find any information on their limits. So I would assume it's limitless, but your max that you can do at one time is $5,000. So basically you're at the same limit. It's just a matter of how many times you want to do it. Moving on, their general limits. I also cannot find a US dollar wallet limit. Both sites you can put US dollars in there and just sit and wait, and you can flip between the two. You do have to be careful with taxes on that though. Next, their withdrawal limit is $500,000. That is fantastic. However, the fees on that, it depends. You'll have to go to the site and it'll help you determine that. And you'll see that here in just a second. So their fees, the big one on the credit cards, they have higher fees than Coinbase. So depending on how much you buy is what fees you'll get. So at $100, you'll get 8% of that. So it's $8. $250 is also 8. $500 is also 8. $1,000 is 7. $2,500 is 6, and $5,000 is 5%. If you need the link to the list of fees, it's right there. And lastly, the crypto coins that are supported are Bitcoin and Ripple. These are the two big ones that you'll see here in the future. Bitcoin, of course, already, but Ripple's coming on. So other than that, make sure I got everything. Yeah, we'll get to the rest of that later. But if you guys need to sign up for one of these and you want to know the link, I've already put the links down here under the description of the page. So here's the Coinbase sign up link. This link in particular, if you sign up under it and you buy $100 or more, or sell $100 or more of Bitcoin, both you and I will get $10 worth of Bitcoin. So it's just a little perk, but it's also a sign up link. The Bitstamp link is right here. The three big exchanges for cryptocurrencies are right here. I personally cannot get my Kraken account verified, and it's really tedious to get it done, but I do have Poloniex and Bitrex. And we'll get to the monitoring software later. But the other big thing is when you're getting these accounts signed up, particularly the gateways, because they're the big ones. The gateways will take about a week to do everything if you're on top of it, because each process takes roughly a day to 2 days. But when you go to the big verification, it's anywhere from 3 to 5 days. And I basically hit that limit. I was on the edge of day 4 going into day 5 for the latter half of it. So you really want to get into this early because Bitcoin is going to shoot up. Can't stress that enough. But we'll get to everything else later. For now, get your gateways, get them set up, and do the exchanges. The Poloniex and Bitrex also have a verification time. Bitrex in particular. But PolonieX's was not too bad. It was very easy to set up. Coinbase and Bitstamp, they also, per the Know Your Customer and other laws in the US and UK, they require you to verify who you are. So that's why they're asking for particular information. Even Bank of America, when I was signing up for them, they also asked me for a lot of the information that they were asking for. So it's not, they're not stealing your information and everybody has to have it now because of the new laws in place. So other than that, those are the two gateways. So I'll see you all in the next video.